Hey guys, Nostalgic Dan 1 again, and I'm here with a new video. This is a different kind of video. I'd like to take this time to highlight some Xbox 360 exclusives, but it's not the exclusives you're thinking of. It's not going to be. I mean, obviously, we all kind of know about like the Halos, Gears of Wars, Forzas. We know about those. Those are big, like blockbuster exclusives for Xbox 360. And I built quite a collection of Xbox 360 games since I've just had it for such a long time, and it's still going strong, knock on wood, that that thing keeps on going. But I'm going to be highlighting some more overlooked Xbox 360 exclusive games, and this is more for you Xbox 360 owners that, maybe you never heard of these, and you might see like a new 360 exclusive that you've never seen before that you maybe want to check out. So I'm just going to be like overviewing some of these games and talking about them, so let's jump into it. Okay, now first up we got one of my favorites on the 360. It's a classic game, one of my all-time favorite Xbox 360 games, and it's exclusive, but it's the original and not a lot of people bought it, and I did a review on it quite a while ago, and I think I definitely could have done a better review on it. Like, I didn't play around with settings. I found out new settings and whatnot, but really old review, but we're going to talk about it more, and that is the great Earth Defense Force 2017 by D3 and Sandlot. So basically what this game is it is just an awesome third-person action shooter. Now, EDF exemplifies the games that you just want to have fun with, and like what it comes down to is it's just fun. You have tons of different missions, and yes, granted, over time some of them do get repetitive, but the whole premise is these alien bugs have invaded from space, and that's basically the whole concept of the story. So essentially it's just non-stop action. There's no story getting in your way. You just blow stuff up. You blow up tons of aliens with a wide range of weaponry, from grenade launchers, rocket launchers, assault rifles, shotguns, and special weapons like flamethrowers and whatnot. But one of the biggest draws for me about Earth Defense Force is just this cheesy, like, B aspect movie. You know how you see those cheesy Japanese B movies, but like they're so bad that they're good? It's totally like that. I mean, the biggest draw for me that keeps me coming back to EDF consistently is this quirky charm. Like, when it comes down to it, it's a really quirky game. There's from the hilarious one-liners and god-awful voice acting to the way this guy walks and moves, like his body's on a pivot, and he's hilarious, to the way he lands without bending his knees. It's just, the non-stop quirky charm is just incredible in this game. So next time you want a 360 game just to pick up and play for fun, definitely grab Earth Defense Force 2017. And remember the battle cry: EDF, EDF, EDF. And next we have a game that was criticized because, like, it might not have had the greatest story, it might not have looked all that great back in the day, it might be dated now, but what it comes down to, we have N3 99 Nights on the Xbox 360. There's also a sequel to this game, N3 99 Nights 2, which was actually published by Konami. But essentially what this game boils down to, like bare bones, is this is just a really good Dynasty Warriors style hack and slash. It's your standard button mash hack and slash where, compared to like Dynasty Warriors, you have a nice little map and you fight tons and tons of enemies, literally like hundreds of enemies on the screen at once. And if you're a big fan of Dynasty Warriors, essentially this game is no different. It's a pretty good clone of that. Like, the characters are really interesting. There's different variety in characters, and they both have their own unique special attacks, and you get armor, you change your weapons, upgrade. Over time you can build up, after getting a nice combo, you build up like this special attack that you can unleash on enemies. And visually the game looks great still. I think it still looks great. It's got a nice, wonderful orchestrated soundtrack going for it, and I think the cutscenes in between are actually really well done. You also command like infantry units that, like, before going into battle, you can select up to 2 units from like infantry, heavy infantry, pikemen, and like archers to help you along in battle. And for most of the time they do a good job helping you out, but usually they wind up dying pretty fast, so it's kind of you alone taking on hundreds of enemies. There's some really awesome boss fights in here, and you know, if you're a big fan of Dynasty Warriors, you know, this is your kind of game right here on the Xbox 360. It's the 99 Nights series. It's a really overlooked but really great hack and slash. You know, that's what it comes down to. Go into it expecting a, you know, really good hack and slash, and you'll be happy with it. And next we have an action sports game, and you know me, I love some action sports games, and this one was really overlooked because one, if I remember correctly, it was a Target exclusive for a while. Like you could only find this game in Target, and it was a sequel to like a, you know, 2 other games that were on like the original Xbox. So this really flew under a radar when this came out. But what it boils down to is, you know, out of all the snowboarding games out there, I think this is probably the best one to pick up for the modern gen on the Xbox 360, and that is AMP3. Now this was really overlooked. Like I said, it came out as like a Target exclusive deal. It was kind of a budget title. But for a budget title, it was really good. Like, you're gonna see, you can do all kinds of stuff in this game. And, you know, it's got a really cool little indie art style going for it that I like. But what it boils down to is this is just a great snowboarding game. If you love action sports, you know, rules are simple like Tony Hawk and whatever, you just do tricks. In snowboarding, the triggers do like flips and rolls for you, and the B button lets you do grabs. And this game is really like kind of really quirky and bizarre. Like, it's really indie influenced, especially with this one. Like, there's a lot of indie artwork, there's a lot of like weird indie stuff. The game's actually got some really hilarious loading screens that are just like really bizarre. And like, you see this like kind of like stuff going off the side of me, and that looks like poo or whatever. That's your like Zen power. Like, you get Zen powers, and they give you, based off the different Zen power, to give you like different point boosts and whatnot. And this game essentially is like a snowbox game. You know, if you like sandbox, imagine sandbox games where you can like move around in a huge expansive environment. There are like, I believe 8, 9, 10 mountains around there, and they're all, most of them are fairly huge, and it's just like a big open snowbox playground for you. As you can see here, you can do sledding, and you win different sleds and whatnot, and there's a lot of ridiculous sleds, from like hang gliders and, you know, a toilet, or, you know, a lounge chair. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. You can also drive the snowmobile and do tricks on the snowmobile, which is pretty cool. So it's just a free-for-all snowbox game. There's lots of different challenges, from, you know, simple score points or photo ops for certain people, or sledding challenges and races. So, and there are pros in this game, so there's a lot of pro cameos in here. So if you're a big action sports fan like I am, AMP3 is just a really quirky indie snowboarding game. You should definitely check it out. Don't let this budget title scare you away. It's a great snowboarding game. Next we have a spaceship shooter, like spaceship 3D shooter, that was criticized heavily, mainly due to, like, I think a lot of people went into this game expecting a completely different game, and, you know, unrightfully bashed the game because of their expectations. But that is Square Enix's Project Sylphie Arc of Deception on the 360, another exclusive. And like I said, like, go into this game expecting a 3D shooter. Like, you're in a spaceship, you move around, almost like a jet simulator, like Ace Combat and all that, but with a spaceship. And it's a beautiful looking game, it's a lot of fun. The story might be whatevs, but what it boils down to is, forget about the Square Enix logo, forget about that it's made by Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts makers. Just, wipe that clear and go into fresh, expecting a, Ace Combat style spaceship shooter in space. And if you go into it like that, you'll find you have a pretty really good flight sim game. You fly around in space in your spaceship like jet, and that's the thing, you can like customize and outfit your jet with all kinds of different weapons and buy new weapons, upgrade them. So some really light RPG elements there, but you can just play this game how you want. Some missions do require you to use some specific weapons, like there's torpedoes and missiles, and just like typical fare. And like a typical flight sim game, you have lock-on mechanics, and the interesting thing is the lock-on range depends on your weapon, so you could lock on to multiple enemies, all kinds of enemies, and just shoot out a bunch of missiles. Really insane. And you just fly around in space, you have objectives in the missions, and you try and clear those to progress. There's a boost, and you can do all kinds of things. You can give formation orders to your squad. And it's just a typical, flight sim game. If you like those kind of like Ace Combat and whatnot, this is like that in kind of space, and it works really well. It does get challenging too later on, so there's a story element, some nice cutscenes, but the story element is really lacking. But if you can disregard the story and just, go into the action segments, you'll find it's a really good flight sim game. And next, we have an essential compilation game for all you shmup fans on the 360. And I'm a big shmup fan, but it's a 360 exclusive compilation, and that is The Great. And I did a review on it a long time ago, but that is a great compilation of Raiden Fighters Aces. This is arcade greatness at its finest. You get 3 amazing arcade games: Raiden Fighters 2, Raiden Fighters Jet. They are all epic shmups, and it's an essential compilation to have. What it boils down to is just truly a classic compilation of shmups that you should have. And the rating games just boil down to some awesome shoot 'em up action. And as stated before, Raiden Fighters Aces is a compilation game featuring Raiden Fighters 2, and Raiden Fighters Jet. All awesome. I think my personal favorite is probably Raiden Fighters 2. I think probably the easiest one is probably Raiden Fighters Jet, but they're all pretty challenging shmups in their own right, and they're just really well done. You go through some levels and encounter an end boss at the end. You can choose from multiple ships, and ships have different weapons, different handling. Some ships will be slow but have really powerful shots. Some ships can maneuver like really fast but have some weaker shots, and you can power up your weapon. It just makes you kind of feel like a badass once you're upgraded all the way. You pick up shields, and just a awesome game. You have bombs to drop, and the level design is actually really nice, and it features different modes, like an expert mode, which turns the game into like a bullet hell shmup, and it's a must for shoot 'em up fans. It's a personal favorite of mine, so I always come back to this game. I can't get enough of it. You guys should definitely try out Raiden Fighters Aces. And that is it for these Xbox 360 overlooked exclusive gems. Now, there's some other games, like we all know, like Tales of Vesperia, but disclaimer, Tales of Vesperia is just such an amazing game that I finally put in the works and started, getting that review underway. That deserves its own, full spotlight in a review, which I'm been working on for a while. And there's other games that I haven't played yet, but like out of the massive 360 collection I have, these are like some 360 exclusives that I saw, only on Xbox 360 logo, that, I remember having great times with all these games pretty much, and I enjoyed them, but they're really either games that were like bashed and like, unrightfully bashed by, critics and whatnot, and people never gave them the chance they deserved, and people went into them not open-minded about them. But I'm just hoping like you could find maybe 1 or 2 games that you never heard of before on the 360 and be like, well, that's exclusive, I never heard of, maybe I should try that out. I hope this helped you in some way, and I hope this showed you some overlooked 360 exclusives. But anyways, thank you for watching, guys. See you around. Later, guys.